Dear student teachers, welcome to today's program. Today we are going to discuss a very crucial area in the field of education, that is evaluation and continuous comprehensive evaluation. Today we are going to learn what is evaluation, why do we evaluate our students, what is CCE, continuous comprehensive evaluation, what is the difference between assessment and evaluation. We come across some terms, summative evaluation and formative evaluation. What is the difference between them, and what are the tools for formative evaluation, and also we learn implementation of CCE in teaching of English, that means to develop English proficiency in our students. Assessment and evaluation are the terms, or these are some processes we use in the field of education to understand the quality of education that is being imparted in the institute. And also why is it necessary to evaluate? What is the need of evaluation? Why should we evaluate our students? It involves collecting and analyzing information about a program's activities, characteristics and outcomes. Its purpose is to make judgments about a program, to improve its effectiveness and to inform programming decisions. This is the necessity of evaluation. Dear student teachers, we collect some data, we analyze it. Based on this data, we make some judgments, and these judgments we inform to society. In order to understand it very clearly, let us try to understand the relation between society and school. Then we can understand the need of evaluation very easily and effectively. It is determining the value of something. It is measuring or observing the process to judge or determine its value by comparing with some kind of standard. Let us try to understand the relation between school and society. We have schools, we have colleges, we have some universities, various types of institutes in the society. What is the relation between society and these institutes? Let us try to understand, then we can understand this evaluation process in an effective way. And our classroom teaching, our classroom, our school and our society are interrelated, and they should work in coordination for effective functioning. Let us try to understand what is the role of a school in society. We join students in our schools, and we know their innate abilities. School should know the innate ability of every child. Based on the abilities, school should facilitate students to attain skills that are required in the society. Society needs some people who have wonderful skills. These skills should be imparted in the school, and also school should bring all round development of the child and mold him to take responsibility for the well-being of all the people. And one other thing, school should assess students' skills and learning styles to facilitate learning and promote personal excellence. And also school should show the performance of the students as an evidence, because schools or institutes should be accountable to the society. They take products, that means students, they understand, school should understand the abilities for the children. Based on those abilities, school should provide some skills, some information, that skills and some professional skills should be imparted in students, and students should come out with those skills to serve in the society. these are the need, this is the need and this is the relation, and this should be this type of coordination should be there between schools and society. And one other thing, school should be accountable to the society by assessing and by showing result. For that, how can we show the performance of schools functioning to the society? We have to show the functioning of society, the schools functioning to the society. For that, we conduct examinations. We conduct examinations and we show result to the society. And after that completion, we give certificates. These certificates contain the proficiency of the child in curricular activities and co-curricular activities, co-curricular areas and curricular areas. And this result will be utilized in the society. And we don't show marks, we give grades to children. And based on that, we differentiate children below average, satisfactory, very good, excellent and outstanding. And here one very important aspect every one of us should bear in our mind is, whatever may be the school or institute or university, the aim is, the primary goal of assessment is improving students' learning. That is the ultimate goal of assessment. And but if you observe in today's society, students are in great agony because of examinations, the way of treating examinations, and they are receiving great pressure from various sources. They receive pressure from their parents. Their parents, they have high expectation from their kids, and also there will be pressure from society, pressure from peer group, pressure from various sources. Hence, it's our responsibility and duty of every person to enable parents and students the real need of the examination. They need not undergo any pressure. The purpose of examination should be well understood to the parents and students. Also, even what it may be, from very young age, from early age, the students are facing great struggle and agony because of this examination burden. They are feeling this is a great burden, and they will be it's causing great stress and strain. And even you observe in our newspapers and TV channels that some students they commit suicide because of this stress that is working on them while they are in schools or colleges. And how our examination system should be is a very important aspect. Every one of us should bear in mind and implement it in our schools. Examinations should be fun. Students should feel that they are fun, and they need not feel any pressure, because of the pressure doesn't help our students. It should be examination season should be like a festival. That the students should attain one that concept that examinations are giving one opportunity to us to realize our own potential. And they should not give pleasure, they should give pleasure, and they are not for pressure. The examination should give pleasure, they should not give pressure to our students. And finally, one very important thing every one of us should bear in mind and educate our parents that examinations are not the benchmark for the success in life. If you observe great persons in this world, they developed through their hard work, based on their intrinsic motivation, based on their love, affection towards that work, not because of examinations. and students should be in the schools and they should enjoy their learning. We should provide joyful learning to our students. When there is enjoyment, they are really learning. Okay, some little effort is required on the part of the children, so that that should be very useful to them to grow well. But more pressure leads to disaster. Hence, every one of us should bear in mind this aspect. Yes, student teachers. See, many changes are going on in the field of education. Now we come to one concept that students are not learning only in the classrooms. Now we are in the era of information technology. We are in knowledge society. Knowledge is there everywhere. Students are accessing this knowledge. Now we call it as e-learning. Students are accessing open education resources that are available everywhere. We call it students' autonomy. As per my desire, as per my wish, as per my will, as per my happiness, I choose my way of learning. This type of learning is being encouraged in our students. It is need of the hour. Even we call mobile learning. Hence, the thing I would like to make all of you clear that traditional way of examinations should be changed. We should view every individual and provide according to his innate abilities the education, and the testing also should be individualized, and the testing or assessment or it may be evaluation should further encourage students to grow well, to become a wonderful person in the society. In such a way, our schools and colleges should function, and our parents should understand this. And giving a lot of pressure and many expectations may cause great stress on the part of the children, and every one of us should bear this in our mind and educate our parents and students. Now we observe e-learning versus bookish learning, and students are accessing internet and learning, and we are encouraging collaborative way of learning. We should encourage our students to share their knowledge among their peer group. And we observe like evaluation of a man, you can observe there is one evaluation in our education system, from overloaded bags to carrying a small tab or one small mobile, or it may be a small laptop, through which our students can access millions of pages. And also one very important aspect every one of us should bear in mind is individual differences. Every child is unique. Every child has his own ways of learning. Every child has his own innate power. It is the responsibility of the teacher to understand that innate ability, and it should be rightly the energies of the child should be rightly channelized and encourage him to grow in that field. That should be the major aim and objective in imparting education to our children in our schools. And see this funny way of showing our way of examination system. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb the tree. This is the way of one task giving to all the animals which have different abilities. In the same way of examination, after giving up imparting education throughout a year, and finally we are conducting one examination within 2.5 hours or 3 hours and deciding his abilities, it may not be appropriate. And based on this concept, many changes are going on, and many educational the committees and educationists are suggesting to impart evaluation should be continuous, evaluation should be comprehensive, evaluation should be throughout the year, and evaluation should be personalized. Evaluation should be based on the abilities of the child, and this should be carried out throughout the year. And different children, their way of learning may be different. We know about the multiple intelligence theory of Howard Gardner. Different people learn through different styles. Some people, some visual learning may be there, some people auditory, some people kinesthetic, body kinesthetic intelligence may be there. In this way, different people learn in different ways, and based on their way of learning, we should impart education. Let's try to understand what is the difference between assessment and evaluation. These both are two terms, they are different. We can't use them interchangeably. They are different words, they have different purposes and meanings. Let's try to understand. We use them in our education, assessment and evaluation. And assessment is equal to measuring or judging the progress, achievement or proficiency of students. Evaluation is a broader concept than assessment. That means it is a sort of value adding process. Assessment may be one part of an evaluation. Here, in the process of assessment, the focus is on students' learning. We help students to learn through assessment. Let's try to understand what is evaluation. It may focus on many other aspects apart from students' learning. In evaluation, we study quality of teaching, we measure quality of teaching, we measure the material, we measure the appropriateness of the objectives, the classroom climate and so on in evaluation. Hence, assessment is related to students' learning, and evaluation is a broader term. And here our focus, and we try to understand, we try to measure the quality of teachers, quality of teaching learning materials, the classroom atmosphere, the school morale, the objectives, the overall the education that is set up, that is there in that school institute will be taken into consideration to evaluate the system. This we call it evaluation. And also you observe this.
Hello and welcome to Teaching and Education, the purpose of assessments. So, what is the overall goal of using assessments? Educators must use assessments as a tool to improve stuff. Improving student learning will always be the primary goal of assessments. It must be used formatively to pinpoint when students become lost. When students are lost, teachers can intervene through assessments. Teachers can decide to reteach, move on, or change teaching strategies. Now, on a larger scale, assessments are used for evaluation as well, which is different. Assessments still evaluate whether or not students are learning to read, write, and do math. When it comes to standardized testing, they serve the purpose of identifying gaps within an entire school or a classroom. So assessments can identify deficits in both the classroom and schools as well. It's always important in both life and in education that we learn from our mistakes. And teachers should want to show students that hard work pays off.
assessments provide intrinsic motivation and a payoff for studying very hard. So right now I just want to say thank you very much for your
Students, just to observe the purpose of assessment. Let's try to understand it very clearly further. Assessment is to increase quality, evaluation is to judge quality. And you observe this assessment and evaluation, farmers also use assessment and evaluation in their cultivation. They sow seeds, they observe their crop regularly. Every day they observe the crop, they give appropriate manure. When they find any pests, they use pesticides. When they find any what we call insects, they use insecticides. And based on their requirements, they provide wonderful atmosphere to plants to grow well. This entire process from sowing seeds to the receiving that yield, that means harvesting, that the farmer, he takes care of the crop, and every day he observes the crop and provides appropriate atmosphere to grow it healthy. This entire process we may call it as assessment. We may compare it to assessment. And after that, the farmer, after harvesting, he measures the yield. The quality and quantity of the yield will be measured, and based on that he takes some judgment whether to continue the crop in the next season or to change the seed or change the crop will be decided by the farmer. That we call it as evaluation. And he also takes care of the soil, whether his soil that is suitable to grow that crop or not. He will take various other that aspects, and also then he takes a judgment whether to continue the same seed further, or what are the required measures that he has to take to elevate the yield. This we call it as evaluation. That means that is the difference between assessment and evaluation. Assessment, we assess our students. Why do we assess our students? To help our students to grow well, to attain requisite skills, to impart education to them, to grow further. For that we use assessment. Evaluation, this after completion of our total giving training to our students, and we evaluate them, and we that evaluation will be useful for making judgments. And assessment is a continuous process. We plan, we implement, we take up assessment, and then with the help of the result we again plan, implement. That means we teach a lesson. See, we teach one lesson to our students, the structure of our plant, and then I ask some questions. Students give answers. With the help of students' responses, I can understand whether students are whether students are understanding my lesson or not. What are their problems? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? How can we modify? How can I modify my way of teaching? This cycle will be there in our classroom. It will be continuous throughout the one academic year. We teach, we assess, and we take result. With the help of that, again we replan, and again we teach. This will be continuously, it will be taken place in our classrooms. And try to understand these three terms: assessment of learning, assessment as learning, assessment for learning. Assessment performs these functions, dear student teachers. Let us try to understand. Assessment of learning. Assessment of learning is the assessment that becomes public. It often contributes to pivotal decisions that will affect students' futures. That means assessment of learning. That means these are our 10th class public examinations and intermediate public examinations are examples of assessment of learning. the result, we obtain a result. Based on that result, student may further he may take judgment. He plans his future. For example, some students may be wonderful in that about he has great interest in plants and animals. He may choose biology, BPC as his group in his intermediate. Some students may show great interest in physical science and mathematics. They may choose MPC. Based on the further they may grow based on their interests. And in that way, this assessment will be helpful to our students to plan their future. Assessment as learning. Through this process, students are able to learn about themselves as learners and become aware of how they learn. That means they become metacognitive, knowledge of one's own thought process. That means assessment as learning. Because of the assessment that is being taken place in our schools, our students, it helps our students to know their way of learning. For example, I know my strengths and weaknesses. I know my way of learning, the way which is very much helpful and which is very easy on the part of me to learn well. This is known as assessment as learning. This is a metacognition. How do I learn? How do I learn one concept? How do I learn one thing? That is also that we call it as metacognition, and this assessment helps us to attain that also. That means assessment as learning. And students reflect on their work on regular basis, usually through self and peer assessment, and decide, often with the help of the teacher, particularly in the early stages, what their next learning will be. The student who has completed his BPC, there will be that BPC will give many entry points to enter into various courses. It may be it may be agriculture science, it may be horticulture, it may be veterinary science, it may be homeopathy, it may be medicine. Based on my desires, based on my strengths, based on my strength, I may choose my area of interest for further learning. And assessment for learning. It involves teachers using evidence about students' knowledge, understanding and skills to inform their teaching. Assessment for learning is also known as formative assessment, dear student teachers. Dear student teachers, for example, we teach one lesson and we ask some questions to our students. We receive responses. These responses help me to understand whether my students are following my lesson properly or not. Based on that, I change my way of teaching. If it is required, I may plan for reteaching of that lesson. This is called assessment for learning. It is also known as formative assessment. For example, observe this. I would like to give one more example. For example, I teach one lesson, structure of plant to class 3 or 4. I teach that lesson, I ask some questions, or I may give some tasks. What are the different parts of a plant? Label a diagram of a plant. What are the functions of a leaf? What are the functions of a flower? What is known as a root system? What is known as a shoot system? Ask some questions and I observe students' responses. And based on students' responses, I can understand whether my students have understood the lesson, the structure of the plant as per set norms. If they achieve their goal, I continue my lesson. If I find any gaps or some students fail to understand my lesson, what will be my duty next. I don't move to other topic. I teach the same lesson by taking up different strategies, other strategies. I replan my lesson, I teach it again. This is known as formative assessment. We take up formative assessment in our schools for this purpose only. We test our students to know their strengths, to know their weaknesses, and based on the result we receive, we replan our teaching. If they achieve set goals, I continue my lesson, I start next unit or next concept of teaching, otherwise I stop there and I reteach it by using other strategies. That day I may bring real plant, or I may take my children to a garden, show plants, and first hand experience I would like to show, so that all the students learn very well. Then only I move, I start a new topic. This is assessment for learning. This is very important, and every teacher should follow it. This is the purpose of, main purpose of formative assessment, dear student teachers. And only we take up external examinations are not, they are not proper. They are largely inappropriate for the knowledge society of the 21st century, and its need for innovative problem solvers. Evaluation of scholastic learning only on marks is also not correct. Ability of child is also is very important. It should be evaluated, and because of that, National Policy on Education 1986 stated that continuous and comprehensive evaluation that incorporates both scholastic and co-scholastic aspects of evaluation spread over the total span of instructional time. And also NCF 2005 suggested every school should change their traditional evaluation system to CCE with these major objectives. CCE means continuous comprehensive evaluation, and here there should not be stress on children. Evaluation system should be regular and comprehensive, and there should be space for the teacher for creative teaching. Provide a tool of diagnosis and producing learning with greater skills. Continuous comprehensive evaluation is being implemented in our schools. That means CCE refers to a system of school-based evaluation of students that covers all aspects of students' personality. All aspects of students' personality is to be evaluated, is to be assessed. And continuous means that the evaluation of identified aspects of students' growth and development is a continuous process rather than an event. It is built into the total teaching learning process and spread over the entire academic session. Hence, it felt that just that 3 hours or 2.5 hours of examination which you conduct at the end of the completion of the academic year is not enough to measure the innate capacities of the children. Hence, there should be other ways, innovative ways, other ways to think of the innate abilities, and there should be space to evaluate them. And for example, while we are evaluating those innate abilities, means we are giving some space in our system. Because of that, students work on that and they grow well. Because value education is there, students develop their moral education, and they understand various things which are desirable, which are needed in the society. That various life skills they should attain. Just that means only that learning in the schools is not that learning which is there in the books. They should become wonderful citizens and capable citizens, the citizens who can help society, who can become what we call that useful citizens in the society, productive citizens in the society, helpful citizens in the society. Those the values should be imparted in the school. And also various other aspects are being neglected in our schools should be incorporated, and they should be evaluated. For example, the students should appreciate our great Indian culture, our traditions, and because of that culture education is being imparted in our schools. They should appreciate our Indian culture, our monuments, and this type of responsibilities or this type of aspects should be imparted in the schools. It is only possible when we give space in our evaluation system. And also physical and health education, that is very, very important. A sound mind in a sound body, and proper physical exercise is needed. And this in order to develop those skills, we have physical and health education in our school curriculum. In this way, along with curricular activities, and we should also impart other activities in our schools to develop, to bring all-round development in our students. We should impart co-curricular activities like value education, moral education, physical and health education, yoga, and all these skills should be imparted, and they should be measured. And when we give priority to those such type of events, the students start learning. They think in that way, and they attain those requisite skills, and they become wonderful citizens in the society. And comprehensive means, the term comprehensive means that it assesses the all-round development of the child's personality, which covers both the scholastic and non-scholastic aspects of the child's personality. Then let us try to understand objectives of CC. The core objective of CC is continuity in evaluation and assessment. It should not be one moment activity. There should be continuous assessment should be there throughout the academic year. To develop all-round development of the children, cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. And one important thing, de-emphasize memorization. Executive skills are required. Hands-on experience is required. Professional skills are required. These are to be imparted to our students. Just the information that is there in the books and keeping that in their minds is not required. They should make use of knowledge in their day-to-day life. To use evaluation as an integral part of teaching learning process. To use evaluation for improvement of students' achievement. To make the process of teaching and learning a learner-centered activity. Then also it is also to make sound judgment and take timely decisions for learners' growth, learning process, learning pace, and learning environment. To maintain desired standard of attainment, and also we should provide scope for self-evaluation. Benefits of CC: elimination of chance and subjectivity in our examination system, de-emphasis of memorization, functional meaningful declaration of results for effective use by all. For example, students, the mark list may show 90% of marks in English, they fail to speak simple English. That result is not meaningful. Marks card shows 90% of marks, students' performance is very low. There is no relation between marks and his performance and our professional skills. The marks should be reliable. And wider use of test results for improvement through diagnosis and remedial enrichment of program. Use of grade in place of marks in determining the level of pupils' performance and proficiency. We don't give marks. We don't give marks. We use grades. Yes, we also come across one term, that is summative assessment in our education system. The goal of summative assessment is to evaluate students' learning at the end of an instructional unit by comparing it against some standard or benchmark. For example, 10th class final examination is public examination is one summative assessment. Intermediate public examination one summative assessment. It will happen at the end of an instructional unit, or it may be at the end of instructional that period, one academic year. Then formative assessment, evaluation taken at varying interval throughout a course to provide information and feedback that will help improve the quality of students' learning and the quality of the course itself. Giving remedial teaching, provide feedback to our students. Observe this video, dear student teachers, you can understand this. You can understand the purpose of formative assessment here.
You use formative assessments in your practice. As a teacher, it is your responsibility to find out if your students do not understand what is being taught. Students are going to have misconceptions. Students will become lost at times. Poor teachers continue to teach whether or not their students understand. However, teachers need to know if their students don't understand what's being taught. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a class full of confused students that haven't learned anything. So master teachers use formative assessments to make decisions to reteach or move forward. So use formative assessments to change a teaching method, to assign extra homework, or even move forward onto the next topic. When should you use formative assessments? Well, it should be used continuously throughout the lesson. It should be integrated with your instruction to the point where you teach, then assess, teach, then assess, teach, assess, etc., and so forth. So make it comfortable for your students to respond to questions. Formative assessment should take place firmly during the teaching process. Here are some examples. First up, hand signal 1 to 5. 1 to 5 is a whole class assessment. So a teacher may be working a problem on the board, let's say. At some point, that teacher will want to stop. Then they will formatively assess their students by having them rate their understanding on a scale from 1 to 5. Using their fingers. 1 finger is the lowest level of understanding. Students will put up 1 finger if they are absolutely lost. 2 fingers indicate the student has a vague understanding. 3 fingers indicate the student is in the middle. 4 fingers means the student has a good understanding. And 5 fingers is the highest level of understanding. 5 fingers means the student has mastery. Ultimately, 1 to 5 is the quickest way to assess a large group of students. Number 2, brainstorming. Brainstorming usually takes place before introducing a new topic. Teachers use brainstorming to get an idea of what their students already know about a topic. Ask some examples of predator-prey relationships. Then list the examples on the board. The good part is students will also learn examples of predator and prey as you brainstorm. Brainstorming is a great assessment for gauging a class's prior knowledge on a topic. Third, exit tickets. used mainly at the end of a lesson, hence the word exit. The teacher will ask an essential question. A question that revolves around a big concept of the lesson. Formative assessments are always meant to be quick. Give students about 2 or 3 minutes only. Students are given a small slip of paper. The question is answered on the slip of paper. You can use exit tickets to track implementation of standards throughout the course. Exit tickets are best used for assessing a lesson's overall objective or goal. Fourth, think, pair, share. A 3-part assessment.
Okay, dear student teachers, just you watched different strategies of formative assessment, and one thing we should bear in mind, it is a responsibility of every one of us to educate parents and society that examinations are not for pressure and they are for pleasure. And also should give that every child has innate abilities and is a wonderful person. Every child is unique, and based on his skills, based on the child's capacities, we should provide appropriate education and help him to grow well. This pressure doesn't help our students to grow well, and this we should enable our the persons to understand this. And let's give wonderful education and wonderful type of evaluations to our students and make them wonderful citizens in the society. Thank you very much and wish you very good luck, dear student teachers.